You must have observed that most of the selection tools had an option of select and mask in the options bar. Let's learn that option in this lecture. Select and mask option is a special and superior option if you want to select a subject with difficult edges in the photo, especially edges of the hair. Here we have an image of a girl. Selecting the girl with her hair is a bit difficult task, but with this option we can do it very precisely. We will keep a background image behind the girl to understand it better. Remember that the girl's image has a plain color background. If we have color variations in the background, we may find it difficult to select the hair properly. So if you have a photo shoot for a similar purpose, prefer to take a photo on a plain background so that you can edit it precisely. Select the layer of the girl that we want to edit. Now before going for directly select and mask option, we will select the subject in the image. It is the same option as the object selection tool. Majority of the subject has been selected from the image. Now go to select, select and mask. This will open a property panel at the right side of the screen. We have lots of sliders here. You can see the colored area as selected and the other as excluded areas. You can change the color so that you can identify the selected areas easily. The opacity slider will set the transparency of the color. You can change the colored areas as excluded areas or selected areas from the drop-down. Go to the View Mode drop-down. Here, different options are available to see the edited image. You can switch to Next View Mode by pressing the F key on the keyboard. Select the Onion Skin option for now. Adjust the transparency around 70 to 80%. Press X key to compare the edited image with the original. You can see that some of the hairs are discarded as well as some of the green areas are still visible. You can remove the background color and recover the subject on the edge by increasing the radius. Adjust the radius of the edge to recover the hair area. It will add the area around the current selection edges. To view the edge radius, select the topmost option of Show Edge. We can increase the radius to cover the hair selection. Deselect the Show Edge option to view the edited image. Increasing too much radius is adding the hair area, but it might also remove the areas that we want. We can recover the area with the help of Brush tool. Adjust the tool size from the options bar. We also can change the tool size by the square bracket keys on the keyboard. Remember that adding or removing the areas using the brush and lasso tool will forcefully add the area. Photoshop will not use its AI for using these tools to detect the edges. Here the edges of hairs are different from the other edges. So we need to edit this image in two parts. First, we will refine the edges other than the hair. Undo the changes. Select the Show Edge option and make the radius thin enough to cover the edges other than the hair. The Smart Radius option will automatically detect the edge radius. You can observe that the edge radius is uneven. It decides how much radius is required on which edge. Let's refine the edge by changing the global refinements sliders. To understand it better, switch the view mode to black and white. Deselect the Show Edge option. First option in the global refinements is Smooth Edge. Increasing the value will smoothen the edges of selected areas. You may need to decrease the radius for a better result. Feather slider will add blur to the selection edges. Add a little feather to make the edges look more smoother and realistic. The next slider contrast will refine the blurriness on the edge. Now increase the contrast value. It will make the light gray area towards white and dark gray areas towards black on the edge. The next slider of Shift Edge will push the selected area in or out. This may be useful when you have feathered edges of the subject in the image. Use this slider only if needed, as it will increase or decrease the area globally and might remove the subject area or include the unwanted background area at the edges. Below that, we have two buttons for resetting the selection or inverting the selection. Below that, we have output settings. We will see the decontaminate colors option at the last. Select the output to layer mask. If you want to save the settings for the next image, you can select the bottommost option of remember settings. Though every image has its own challenges to edit the edges, you can use this option to load the same settings for next time you open select and mask option. Press OK at the bottom for now. We just have refined edges other than the hair. Now in the second step, we will refine the edges with the hair. Select the layer mask and go to the select and mask option again. This time we need to edit the edges around the hair. We need to do it manually. First of all, switch the view mode to onion skin. This will give us an idea of edited edges with the image. We have two tools for selecting or deselecting the areas. If you directly edit the image without selecting the subject, as we did before, entering this option for the first time, these two tools, Quick Selection Tool and Object Selection Tool, are very helpful here. You can still use these tools if you want to add the excluded area or remove unwanted areas from existing selection. We already have the partially edited image, so we don't require these tools for now. The second tool, the Refine Edge tool, is a very powerful tool to select the areas like the hair here in this image. Zoom the hair area at the top. Now what we need is to tell Photoshop to look into the area for the hairs and remove the background color from it. Keep the tool size big enough so that we can mark the area for the edge only. Keeping the tool size very big may remove the areas from inside edges of hairs too. We will start our process by clicking on the hair part first, as it helps Photoshop to identify what we want. Try to mark the area in smaller parts for better results. You can see that the green area of background is losing its presence when you draw. Move your mouse slowly and let Photoshop analyze the edges. This process may take longer time depending on the edge's complexity in the image. The onion skin transparency will help us to include the edges that are completely excluded. Mark those thin hair areas too where you want to recover the hairs. Pan the image by hand tool to go to the other part of the image. The other easy method is turning the Show Edge option on and make a stroke only on the edge where the hair and the background are mixed. This method is very useful when you have less complex edges in the image. You may have noticed that when you click, your image gets blurred. It might get difficult to mark the area properly. We have a high quality preview option at the top right corner. Selecting the option will force the Photoshop not to blur the edges, and that may affect the performance. Make sure that you don't miss to mark the edges. You will need a little patience for better results. The edges we have between the hand and the face are very complex. Let's uncheck the Show Edge option and select the hairs here. Proceed with selecting the hairs and removing the background. You can increase the tool size, as here we are not marking the edges but instead we are working under an area to recover the hairs. Take your time and mark the areas properly so that we can recover the thin hair areas too. Once you finish with it, you can check the changes you made since you last entered in the Select and Mask Edit mode by selecting the Show Original option. Select New Layer with Layer Mask option in Output mode and press OK. You can see that we have edited the image very precisely. But still we see the green color edges on the hair. Select the mask and go to the Select and Mask option for the last time. Select the Decontaminate Colors under the Output settings and press OK. Remember that we have to apply the Decontaminate Colors at the last step. Let's see what it actually does. It will detect the hair color and fill it with the color around the hair's edges. But because the hair edges are masked, we don't realize it. Just press and hold the Shift key and click on the mask. This will hide the mask and show the edited edges on the layer. You can see the hair area and you realize the Decontaminate option. Press and hold the Shift key and again click on the mask to turn the mask on. With the Select and Mask option, you can precisely edit the thin edges. Alright, so let's talk about few questions here. The first question is it necessary to select the subject every time before entering the Select and Mask Edit mode? Absolutely not. It's not necessary, as we have Quick Selection tool and Object Selection tool inside this edit mode. So we can select the subject with these two tools after entering the Select and Mask Edit mode. The next question is, can we edit the image in a single step only without entering several times in this mode? Yes, we can. When we have simple edges within the similar radius throughout the image, we can edit it in a single step. But when we have edges variations available with different radius like we had here, it's better to edit the image in several steps depending on the variation of edges throughout the image. The next question is, what is Decontaminate Colors? Well, Decontaminate Colors is an option to remove the background color from the edges we have edited by filling the edge color around it. And the last question is, can we use this edit mode to edit the edges other than hair? Yes, this option can be applied to edit any type of thin edges or complex edges. Simple background would be the additional advantage for this edit mode.